All right, so that's for the Challenge Conference. Just a little bit of an insight into what it is if you've never been before or never experienced it. I've actually only been able to experience it once in person because my first year coming to Pathway, they had just gotten back from Challenge, and then 2020 was the next opportunity, and we all know how that went. And 2022 was the first time that we were able to attend in person, that I was able to. And it really is an incredible conference. It's an incredible opportunity to just have like really good discipleship conversations, to learn more about Jesus, to learn more about yourself and your faith and things like that. So if you have questions, we're going to give you an opportunity at the end for those. But just, again, for the sake of time, because I know a number of you have to leave for kids choir, I'm going to breeze through things as quickly as I can, but as efficiently as I can, so that I can give you as many things as we have here. But then if you have questions, we'll save those for the end. Sound good? Excellent. All right, so it is, again, Monday, July 1st through Saturday, July 6th. Our plan is to leave Monday morning and then return Saturday morning as well. So it's Monday evening is registration and check-in. Our first session, all that is on Monday evening. And then we carry all the way through until Friday evening session. And then we'll come back on Saturday. The location is Kansas City, Missouri. And we're going to be at the Kansas City Convention Center, and the Crown Plaza Hotel is where we are planning to stay. You're going to notice that our registration is live online right now. They opened up early bird registration in mid-January, and so our plan is to have our registration close the end of January so that we are able to get into the hotel that we want. The Crown Plaza Hotel is literally like here's the hotel, right next to it, like right across the street is where our sessions are, and then right across the street from that is where our meals are. It's all kind of in this same complex, like it's in this quad right in downtown Kansas City. And so there isn't a need really to go beyond that. Now, some people do. There's a Starbucks that kids walk to that's like a mile down the road, and you'll find a bunch of girls there all throughout the course of the day, multiple times, and things like that. But it's not a necessary thing. It's just like, hey, something that you can do. And so during those days, what we think about, like in the price and things like that, then we'll get to, essentially it covers like all your meals, all your transportation. It covers your hotel stay, like all of those kinds of things while you're there. And so we just have extra financial things that we'll talk about on the beginning and the back end of just like travel days and things like that. But again, Challenge, it blends the aspects of a conference, a mission trip, and a camp to create a catalytic environment that moves beyond the mountaintop moment to building missional momentum within our youth group. And that's really the whole hope and desire, is not just to have a fun event, not just go and have a good time, but to build these deep, lasting experiences where you are able to experience God in a new and fresh way and carry that with you as you go beyond the week of the conference. And there are a lot of kids. Raise your hand if you went last time in 2022, right? So you can talk to any of them and ask their experience and what they remember. And there are just like I don't have a great memory, but like so many of the experiences that we had together are just like stuck in my mind from Mackenzie, from our vlogs, right? I just happened upon those videos the other day, and I was like, dude, I totally forgot about those. To like everything that we did along the way with like Trenton buying sushi for us and things like that. You know, it's just like these memories that are built. But then beyond that, like being in this the Kansas City Convention Center with thousands of other teenagers all worshiping together. I mean, Lola and Ella got to go on stage, and Jesse. Just Lola and Jesse. Sorry, got to go on stage and be with the whole choir, like on the stage with the band in front. Like, it just incredible opportunities that are there. And so, I don't know. It's just a very exciting thing. If you have any other questions, you can ask them or ask me about those kinds of things. So we're going to move on to the conference components then. You see like meals and money, outreach, equipping labs, rec sports, and things like that. These are all like self-contained within Challenge and within our time there together. And so you get meals throughout the week and all that. It gives you like your snacks and drinks and materials, and everything that you absolutely need is caught up in our registration costs. That we charge you, that's all included. Now you can bring spending money for, again, they have a store throughout the week where you can get merch and different things like that. You can buy other food, like sometimes kids are sometimes picky or just like don't like the food. It was decent last time, it wasn't too bad. And like for conference food, put on for thousands of people, like it wasn't bad. And so, like, if you need to buy your own food or you want to go to Starbucks, you want to do those different things, that would be money that you bring yourself. But again, that's not necessary. Those are just like extra things. Now, the travel day on Monday and Saturday, you would want to bring money for like food while we travel. That would be something beneficial to do. So you can read about those conference components. There's an outreach, a prayer outreach, service projects. We did some of that last time. Equipping labs are like topical conversations that you can have. And so you go into, and there's speakers there talking about all different kinds of things. So I know there were some like mental health things, some like spiritual growth things, some like a bunch of different topics and different things that we were able to go through last time. And that's really a like student-led and student-chosen direction. And so you don't have to go with anybody else. You can choose like, I'm gonna go to this equipping lab because it's how to bring glory to God in sports, taught by like a former NFL player. Something, you know, it's like those kinds of things that are offered. And it's like, I want to choose that one. Maybe nobody else wants to go with you, and that's all right. But there's like dozens of different equipping labs on different days, and they'll release those, and then you can choose which ones you want to go to. And you can change your choice even like in the moment. If you're like, oh, I wanted to go to this one, but I actually am going to go to this one, like that's also okay. So there are different components to the experience. Moving to the next page of who can attend. So Challenge is an open invitation for all students currently in grades 6 through 12. Now, as we talk about these kids that are currently in grades 6 through 12, that's a broad spectrum of maturity levels, right? It's a broad spectrum of like kids who maybe have not left home for longer than like an overnight weekend maybe, or something like that. This is a early Monday morning through a late Saturday evening experience. And so it is lengthy, it's a lot of time. And so you'll actually see in our registration form something new that we're adding in. And that is really just to help us. It's kind of asking some mental health things and some different, like if you have triggers or different things like that, just helping to know a little bit more about you. Like there are things that maybe you go through on a day-to-day basis. And it's like that would be helpful to know so we can, one, put you in the right room. Like we're going to be staying in hotels. There can only be 4 total people in each hotel room. And so there's not going to be enough leaders that we're bringing with us to put a leader in every single room. And so knowing some of these needs and some of the things that are necessary for each student helps us then to be able to place you in the right place with the right leader or the right people in your room and some of those kinds of things so that we know, right? And then we also know like, hey, this is a pretty intense week with a lot of emotions, a lot of things going on. There are some things like you're going to be in a large group setting, you're going to be in small group settings, there's going to be a lot of noise, then you're going to have to like walk to your hotel room. There's not a whole, like I'm an introvert, and I know that's maybe a little bit surprising for some, but I'm an introvert. And so for me, I know like, hey, this can be a long week. Because you're staying in a hotel room with other people too. It's not like you can go back and just like chill and no one's there. There are people everywhere all the time. And pretty much Challenge like rents out this entire Crown Plaza hotel. So it's not just that there's other people, there's like thousands of other teenagers in the hotel that you're in. And so it can be loud. And so just kind of knowing those things as we go in is helpful for us. And so you can put in there whatever you need to, just about like whether it's social anxieties or, you know, whatever those kinds of things might be, that would be helpful for us to know. And so, again, it's for 6 through 12 graders, but bear in mind, not everybody who applies may be accepted to the team. There are some times where through the course of just some conversations and even after our first meeting and things like that, where it just kind of comes to be clear, like, hey, maybe you're not quite ready for this level of trip, like this level of demand or requirements. And so just kind of knowing that, like, hey, just because you apply does not guarantee your spot. And so between now and January 31st, like as you apply, we'll have some of those conversations and kind of work through some of those things and just kind of make sure like, hey, are you sure about coming on this trip? Are you sure about your application? Maybe we'll have some conversations with that as it comes along. Just some expectations for those who are going on the trip. You're expected to attend all team meetings and complete the meeting assignments. We'll have homework. We'll have different things that you will need to do for this trip and for this team. And the reason that we do these team meetings is one, because we, again, don't just want this to be a spiritual high, but we want to ease into the spiritual high so that it is a spiritual high, but then when we come back, we don't drop back down to where we were. We have like this consistent level in our spiritual lives. And so we want to do some things together, learn some things together, grow together as a team, because again, you're going to be with these kids for a week, with these leaders for a week, staying in the same place as them, spending a lot of time with them. And so knowing them before you get there is helpful. And so that's another reason that we have these team meetings, and those are published there for you to see, so you can put them on your calendar right away and know like, hey, I already know I'm going to be gone for this one, like let me know, right? Or you see like, oh, I could have chosen this date or this date for something, I'm going to choose the date that's not on our team meeting because I need to be there. So that's one thing. The next thing is that you're expected to be consistently involved with and participate in Pathway Student Ministries. We are intentionally making a significant investment in you as a student and in you as families, but financially, spiritually, with time and in intentionality and like all those things, like we are intentionally making a significant investment in you, and so we are asking, will you also invest, right? That's one kind of why we charge you, is like, hey, you're not just going for free, you gotta put some skin in the game, but also you gotta put some time into this game as well, and be intentional about your participation. And so you notice we kind of avoided the mandatory and the those kinds of words, but it's kind of loosely in there, right? Like you're expected to be around, you're expected to be present. If you are gone for like a month and a half from like everything youth ministry related, like Sunday morning, Sunday night, Thursday night, like whatever context you're in, and there's like no communication at all, that becomes then like a red light or a red flag of like, hey, where have you been? Like you kind of disappeared, but you like are still on the challenge team. So those are conversations that we'll have if there aren't other conversations between that, right? And so we want to be intentional. We know like, hey, sometimes sports just hit at the right time or the right place, and it's like, goodness, yeah, it's been a month, but it's been like, and we were on this family vacation and then had an athletic thing and then an academic thing, and it's like, whew, that's a lot, and that happens sometimes. But communication is essential for those things, right? Just kind of knowing some of that stuff is super helpful. So then, let's see. And then we also want to challenge you, to commit to prayer, to commit to like actually actively praying for your team members, actively praying for the leaders going on the trip, actively praying for the preparation for the actual like conference itself, and praying for the speakers and other churches going and things like that. So we'll do some intentional things in our challenge meetings, but we also want you to do that on your own, and so we'll have that be some of the assignments as well. All right, so now we get to the cost, right? This is the part that everybody's like, all right, why don't you just start there? Intentionally didn't start there. It used to be on the first page of our handout, and we intentionally moved it back a few pages just so we could lay the groundwork of like, this is what challenge is, this is who can go, and now here's kind of some of the nitty-gritty details, all right? So the cost this year is $975 if you register by January 7th. Okay, so if you register by January 7th, or $1,050 if you register between January 8th and January 31st. If you text me on February 1st and you're like, oh, I forgot to register, I'm gonna say, we had a meeting 2 months ago on December 3rd, where I told you registration is live right now, and you had 2 months to register. And I'm gonna say, at some point, we have to close registration. Right? This is different than a fall retreat, and so we just want to be intentional with that. Like, hey, you got time. You got 2 months to hash it out with your family, to hash it out with your finances, to hash it out with your friends, and figure out like, hey, am I going? Can I afford this? Can we do this? You got 2 months to ask all the questions that you can and do all those things. And so if you don't register by January 31st, your price goes up to $2,000. Okay, so still let you register, right, Stephanie? But it'll just be $2,000. Does that work? Excellent. All right, sound good? All right, you heard it here and I'm recording it. So I'm just saying, we made that up on the spot, or I made that up on the spot. So again, these meeting dates, we put them out ahead of time so you can see on your handouts, but also up there on the screen for you. And so that cost of $975 or $1,050, the way we arrived there is challenge itself actually only costs $350. If we lived in Kansas City, it would cost you $350. Because you wouldn't need to stay in a hotel, you wouldn't need to get yourselves there, and you wouldn't have, well, I guess maybe it costs a little bit more because you have team meetings and things like that. So like the food for team meetings, and if we do team t-shirts and different things like that, all those things cost. And so that's kind of what gets worked into the budget. And so I started praying and I just kind of felt impressed like, hey, we're just gonna make this work. We're gonna figure this out. And so just, God is really cool in how he answers prayer. And so I just felt like, hey, prior to this moment, like prior to this meeting, we had 3 different options for you. We had an option to drive ourselves. We had an option to fly, and we had an option to rent buses. All right, those were 3 different price points. If we drove, it was going to be about $1,000. If we flew, it was going to be like $1,450, something like that. If we took buses, it was going to be like $1,600, $1,700 because buses are like crazy expensive. All right, and so I just thought like, hey, that's really expensive, and I don't like that. And so sometimes, I know John doesn't like this, and Stephanie doesn't like this, but sometimes I'm just like, hey, we're gonna cover a certain amount of this. I don't know how, I don't know where it's going to come from, but I just feel like this is what we're going to do. And so that's what we're going to do. And so the cost for you is significantly lowered because there have been some finances that have come from God only knows where. And it's a really, really amazing thing to see just God kind of have his hand in this and kind of be preparing us for this. And so that's why your pricing is not that much more than it was 2 years ago, even though inflation and plane tickets and all those things have kind of gone through the roof. So just so you know that does also impact then our fundraising. Right, so just kind of so you know, we may have like just a little bit less scholarship to give because we are already giving every single person going on the trip a scholarship. Questions till the end, Janet. All right, can you write it down?
Okay.
So you don't forget it?
I don't forget.
Oh, good. So with fundraising, we want to be a little bit more intentional and a little bit more strategic in the way that we do fundraising. And so you'll notice in your packet, like towards the end, there's a sample fundraising letter. There's also on the back 2 pages, like a front and back page, there are different like suggestions of how you can fundraise and different things that you can do because we recognize this is a significant cost, but we want you to step into it and be willing to raise the money, be willing to work for it, and some of those kinds of things. So we're strongly encouraging you to raise funds through personal work, fundraising, student ministry, auction, working service jobs in the community, and/or sending support letters to family and friends. And just one important note on the support raising letters. So because this is not a mission trip, we cannot. It's not a tax-exempt donation. And so if somebody is donating for the trip, they're not going to get a tax-exempt receipt like they do if they give for a mission trip. There's a different IRS designation. I don't know the ins and outs of that. If you have questions about that, I may not have answers, but I can find out the answers. I just know we can't give you a tax-exempt receipt for a challenge conference. Similar to like a fall retreat and something like that. So mission trips are just a little bit different. So yes, we encourage you to jump into some of those financial things and fundraising yourself and being intentional about how you do that and things like that. So you notice then after the commitment to fundraising on the following page, we got our challenge conference schedule, and that's just kind of a generic look at what a week looks like. So pretty much Tuesday through Friday will be almost the same every single day because we have the similar components every day, but it'll be different in that hey, we're doing an equipping lab or we're doing an Apex experience, which is like the missions agency that the EFCA has for teenagers. And so whatever that might look like, it'll be a little bit different. Sometimes we'll have the outreach, like prayer outreach or service outreach throughout the week as well. So those are all those kinds of things. The final point, and then we'll get to questions, is just the participant and parental agreement there at the end. That is really just a commitment to say hey, I'm all in on this. Hey, I'm on this team, I'm signing up, I understand the financial cost, I understand the time cost, I understand the prayer cost, I understand the discipleship cost, I understand all of that, and I'm all in. I can't wait, I want to sign up, and you and your parents sign this, and say hey, parent or guardian or whoever understands the commitment, and you understand the commitment, and you're both signing off saying I'm in on this, and you're in on this, and we're good to go. Right? So that would be you could turn that in before you actually register online, but it's helpful if you register online and then you sign that and you turn it in. If you need an electronic copy of that, just let us know and you can print it at home or sign electronically and send it back to us, however you want to do that. But we do ask every person that joins our team signs this because this also gives us an opportunity, again, if you've missed 4, 5, 6 weeks of things in Pathway Student Ministries, then this gives us an opportunity, hopefully we'd actually come to you before then, but gives us an opportunity to come and say, hey, you signed this. And so we're just kind of coming back to this and to the commitment of are you still in? And here's kind of what we can hold you to in some of those conversations, just, to have it and know that you knew what you were getting yourself into and we knew that you knew that you were getting yourself into this, just to really heighten that commitment level. So, that is all that I have. Janet, you were the first one with your hand raised. So, what is your question?
There is so much excitement surrounding this trip. We can't contain ourselves. Mm-hmm. There is one overhanging question that was not answered.
Oh, yes, what is that?
How are we getting there?
Oh, that's a great question.
Did you decide anything?
What do you think we're doing? Yeah. Lucas got it. We're going to walk. So it actually starts now. So You didn't know this. Your parents were ready. We got your bags. We're going. Just kidding. Yes, we are going to fly. At least that is the current plan, right? I mean, barring any crazy circumstances, that is the plan. Yeah. That was you just alternate. Yeah. I'm sorry. All right. The sample letter, just so you know, it's a sample letter. It says driving to Kansas City. That's just a sample letter given by Challenge. We did not write it. It was given by them. So just so you know, don't worry about that. I realize that might be a little confusing. All right. What other questions do we have? Any students, parents, anybody have any questions, or leaders? If I missed anything, that's one thing I didn't talk about yet is who is going on the trip. What leaders are. I know we have a lot of interest from a lot of leaders and a lot of adults and maybe even some parents and things like that. So I'll let you know what we do is we give first preference to our youth leaders because our youth leaders are working with our students already. But we also recognize that hey, if let's say, let's go senior girls. Let's say no senior girls go. All right, but Jenna still wants to go, or Ainsley still wants to go, and it's well, hey, no one from your small group is going, so we'll kind of put you as a leader on a back burner and just kind of see. If no other female leaders sign up, then yeah, obviously we would need you, but we try to give preference to the small leader or small group leader to say hey, you got this many kids going, can you go to? Type of thing. So we kind of wait a little bit on seeing what students sign up to finalize our leader list. So, yes. Yes, so it is far more leaders in the rooms. So with high schoolers, there are multiple, especially last time, there are multiple high school rooms that don't have a leader in them. And I think last year, every single middle school room, or we put the middle schoolers together and there was every single one had a leader in it. Because they're middle schoolers. What's that? It doesn't mean you have to. Right? You might still have. Right. Any other questions? Yes, so we are doing the auction this year. It'll probably look a little different than it has in years previous and things like that. Trying to be, again, a little bit more intentional, a little bit more, how do I say this delicately? Less garage sale and more good items. Is that gentle enough? All right, cool. So, yes. Less rummage sale and a little bit more I would buy that. Yeah. So, what other questions do we have? Yeah, present day stuff. They have a list of headline speakers and bands and everything. So Challenge slow rolls things out. So I think there is on the Challenge website, I think some of the speakers are highlighted. I don't know the band yet, so I can't tell you who that is. I know, I hope it's Charity Gale as well. Charity Gale was playing as you guys came in and stuff. She did amazing last time. I'm sure whoever it is going to do a very good job and you'll fall in love with them as well, unless it's Tori Deshawn. But that's a side story, I know. But anyway. Yeah, so some of the band and some of those things will be determined. Same thing with Equipment Labs, they have not released those yet, so we don't know what those are. But as soon as they do, they are good. As soon as it's ready, they send out emails, they put it on social media. So you can follow, I think it's EFCA Challenge on Instagram. I think they have a Facebook page as well. And so you can stay up to date. And you may even know before I do, if you turn on alerts or something like that. So we get emails and they post it on social media and stuff as well. And we'll send you that as soon as we know those things. So, what other questions do we have?
How many people went last year?
34, 35, 35 or so, 34? Yeah. Something like that.
There was a decent amount.
What was actually incredible, if I can tell a flight story, this is what we have, our struggle with planes right now, is Panama, but also Challenge the year before, if you guys remember, we took off from Kansas City, and our pilot comes on and says, hey, Chicago's closed right now, and we don't have enough fuel to just circle and figure out what's going to happen, so we got to land. So we landed in St. Louis, and we just hung out on the tarmac for a while. And it was actually one of the few times I got out of my seat, went and talked to the pilot. It's like, hey, sir, how's it going? We have a flight that we're trying to get to. And he's like, they may or may not hold it. And I was like, not helpful, but thank you. But it was incredible. So we took off from St. Louis, had no idea what was going to be waiting for us when we landed, if they were going to hold the plane for us, and however that was going to work. We had a group of 34, whatever it was, and we land, and already, as soon as my phone came back on, our tickets had already been rerouted to a different plane that was leaving just a little bit later, and just happened to have 34 open seats for our entire team. And they auto-transferred us in flight. I was like, there we go. We know exactly what we're doing. This is awesome. So, it's pretty fun. Much easier than piano. So, yeah, much easier. Still have nightmares. Yes, Lucas. Man, somebody who went to Challenge last time, what is Challenge like for the first time?
Great.
It can be really overwhelming. No, I think everyone there is really supportive.
Yeah.
I think it's life-changing because the speakers are just so good, and what they're talking about is so relatable to teens, especially. And then worship is great because you're with everybody your age, and they're all just praising Jesus. It's great.
Anybody else?
Going for the first time, you're not really sure about your own faith and what you want to do with it. I think that challenge is a great experience because it changed the perspective. I like a lot.
Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in from last time? No. Did that answer your question? Yeah. All right. What other questions do we have? Well, that's just too easy. All right. If you were afraid to ask a question in a group, sometimes that happens. Feel free to come up after and ask your question. Or it just wasn't a question applicable to the whole group and you just held it because you're like, this is only applicable to my kid and no one else, come ask that question too. Or if you want to email or text or whatever this week and you got other questions that come up. Again, registration is live right now. lifeatpathway.com/challenge, I believe, is, there you go. lifeatpathway.com/challenge is the website. So you can do that and find out all that stuff. The question was asked about taking phones, and so this is different than a retreat in that we're there for a whole week, and there are times where you would potentially need your phone. Again, if you're going to Starbucks, or you're just traveling around the city. Although sometimes even people with phones get lost, right? Gentlemen in the back. Just saying. I know. So yeah, hey, you were followers ended up in Kansas City. What's next to Missouri? Kansas. Yeah, they ended up in Kansas City, Kansas, not Kansas City, Missouri. And it's like, ooh, right. They didn't actually end up there. They almost got there because their GPS. Yes. So anyway, we will do very similar to what we did last time. Is we do take their phones at night. And so again, that's one of those things that if you have a reason why you might need your cell phone or something like that, overnight, then we can have that individual conversation. We had some circumstances last time where some people needed their phones overnight. And so we did that, and our agreement was, hey, I'm going to check your screen time app in the morning, and if I see you weren't on the thing that you said you were going to be on, then that's where the conversation is going to go, right? So those were kind of some of those things that we were able to do. So again, we try to take care of individual things as much as we can, but also have big overarching guidelines and things like that. So we will take their phones overnight, but allow them to have them during the day and morning through evening and all that kind of stuff. And they won't all be housed in one room. It's we have a block of rooms, and there's a leader that would be kind of with that block and have all their phones in their room. And we'll also give them, because there were some times that it was necessary to contact somebody maybe during the night or something like that. And so every room will have a print up of hey, this leader is in this room, this leader's in this room, this leader's in this room with the room number because the phones dial to the other room numbers, and even having cell phone numbers on there because the rooms can dial out as well. I know it's an old school phone, so you gotta maybe learn how to use an old school phone that is not touchscreen. But I believe in you. It's just numbers. You can do it. So you'll have a phone, but don't abuse it, or I'll ask them to disconnect your phone. So, any other questions? Excellent. All right. Well, we're going to pray, and then you guys are dismissed. Feel free to, if you want to grab some more food, grab some more food. If you're not grabbing more food, please take care of your trash and all that kind of stuff for us. And if you would, when you're done with your chair can go back on the chair rack here. And we ask, you just put it all facing the same direction. So if the chairs start this way, make sure they all go this way. If it starts this way, make sure they all go this way, if that makes sense. Cool. All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time, and God, we just with anticipation eagerly await what you have for us at Challenge. The team that you are going to put together, the leaders you're going to put together, and just the experience that we are going to have. God, we know that you are already at work. We've already seen your hand at work, and we look forward to continuing to see you move in and through us. Lord, draw us to yourself, and I pray that even before we get to Challenge, Lord, that we would walk in step with you, Holy Spirit. That we'd be making decisions now that bear fruit as we get to Challenge and as we go beyond in our faith, in our lives of devotion and surrender to you, Jesus. We pray these things in your name. Amen.